As you can see by now, some things that look very complicated at first are simply a matter of simply duplicating and repeating and using things you already have in place, simply rotating things and reusing things like gradients. So when you build things in Illustrator, you have to break them down and they'll be a lot easier to manage. Okay, so now we have this stuff. I'm going to create a pattern now, and it's going to fit in this space. So I'm going to take this shape here with the gradient, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it in front, and I'm going to hit my shift key down, shift and the down arrow to move this down. And we're going to go to our swatches panel, and we're going to choose patterns, decorative, and we're going to choose geometric 1. Feel free to choose whatever pattern makes you happy, and then simply click until you find a pattern that you think would go well on your diner. Now, this is the one I chose. I think this looks awesome, so I'm going to use it again. And I'm going to take this guy and move it down for now. I'm simply going to put this on top of the shape where it was, and I'm going to go to my transparency panel, and I'm going to change it to multiply, and I'm going to drop the opacity down a little bit. And now you have a really beautiful pattern with a gradient right behind it. So as you can see, that's pretty easy to do. A lot of things that look complicated are just a matter of deconstructing what's there. You can also try some of the different modes. Like you could try overlay, and you can try screen and color burn, and just see what you get. So feel free to play around with those as well. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a symbol. So I'm going to go to my symbols library, and I'm going to go to this little drop down menu, and I'm going to choose nature, and towards the bottom we have these trees here. So I'm going to drag some trees out. Now what we have to do, don't forget, is we have to click the link to break the connection of the trees to the symbol. Alright, so we're going to break those, and they're no longer associated with this. Now we're going to take the fill color and make it black, as you can see here. So we have these trees. I'm going to scale them, and I'm going to place them on top of the diner like so. Okay. Now something else I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move everything over a little bit, and what I want to do with the trees is I want to make sure that all the trunks kind of line up. So I'm going to press Command or Control R to get my rulers and put a ruler right about here, and then I'm going to grab my direct selection tool. I'm going to grab some of the bottoms here, and I'm simply going to click on any point and move those down. I come over here and grab these and move them down, and move those down so that they fit on the diner and they don't hang over them. Now I'm going to grab the trees and put them back over here again, and I'm going to go back to my transparency panel, turn that into a multiply, and drop the opacity quite a bit. And now you have some trees that are on the diner, so we have some kind of illusion of something else in the distance. It's a nice trick to use. You can always do things like that, like add a window pane, or add a tree or a truck or a car or a building or anything that reflects in another object. Okay, so since we're going to be using this guy a lot, I'll take the transparency panel off, and I'm going to now create a brand new layer. That's right, a new layer finally. So I'm going to lock the wall layer and create a new layer called shadows. And on this layer, we're simply going to create some very simple shapes. So let me go ahead and zoom in on the diner. And what we're going to do is we're going to just add some shadows where we think they would be in the diner. By the way, I have my rectangle tool selected, and I'm going to hit the tab key to temporarily turn off my tools so I can focus on what I'm doing. I'm going to draw a rectangle right about here for the shadows on the window, and that's going to be black. I'm going to hit tab again to come back to the transparency panel, make that multiply, and drop the opacity down. And as you can see, we have a nice shadow. Let me go ahead and hit my selection tool right there. Let's go back to our rectangle tool, and we'll do the same thing. So let's think here. What else needs a shadow? I think maybe under these guys here, these little strips, I'll make a nice thin one. And once again, we will make that multiply And we will drop the opacity down. And we're going to copy this one. We're going to just grab that guy and we're going to simply copy him. All right, so we're going to grab him and move him down. Maybe right about there. And maybe one up here as well. So we could put one in between these two shapes and see how that looks. If it looks stupid, we simply get rid of it. It does look stupid. Bye-bye. You've been voted off the island. Art is about experimentation and taking chances and never being afraid. So we have a shadow here. We have a shadow there. If you want to, you can take your pen tool and you can add all kinds of cool shadows inside the window. Even add patrons. Maybe do a couple of silhouettes of people sitting behind the windows and having a great meal. So now that we have our wall, we need to do one more thing. We need to add the white lines for these parts up here. So I'm going to grab my line tool and I'm going to drag out a line, holding down the shift key. I'm going to make this white, and I'll increase the weight a little bit to about 2 point. And what I'm going to do is turn this to a multiply as well, and I'll deselect it so you can see actually that multiply, it didn't kind of work too well, so let's try an overlay. Overlay looks great. There we go. So we have one that's already done. Simply duplicate this a couple times. Alright, so let me close this transparency panel. And when you're done, try to match it up to match the image so you have a couple of those lines. And then we will be ready to head into doing the sign. So far, I'm hoping you guys are having a good time, learning lots of techniques, and learning how to think as an illustrator using a computer. Because don't forget, you don't have to do so much work when you can simply copy and paste things.